And the idea is, again, I'm going to try to drive one long flake and split this thing in half. That's the goal every time. Hey guys, Ryan Gill here with Hunt Primitive, where we entertain, educate, and inspire, and we're working hard to get you where you want to be in your primitive hunting adventures. So stick with us. We're going to work today on learning how to knap cobbles. I get asked a lot of questions here on the Hunt Primitive YouTube channel, but one of the questions I get asked the most is being able to go out, source your own rock, and then turn that into points. Now, I am going to have a video in the future on going out and finding rock, and it's not as simple as it sounds, but I'm going to give you some tips and tricks and things to look for. That'll be in a future video, so make sure you're following along for that with that. But I've got a whole bunch of different cobbles here. And it's not just any cobble, okay? It's still got to be good rock. You can't just pick up any cobble and say, cool, now I'm going to make an arrowhead out of that. So it's got to be good, high silica content rocks that are good for knapping. But there's a lot of different rocks all around the country that'll make really good points. You just got to do some research, figure out what a lot of them are. And I've got some here to just kind of show you. This one here is a small head of coral. And I'll get it up here a little bit closer so you can kind of see. Look at that on the inside. You would never know to look at that, right? You'd walk around, oh, it's a big ugly rock, but then you knock a corner off, and look how slick and shiny that is, okay? So that's a little coral head. This is Pedernales. We'll smash into this in a little bit, but it'll be really good rock. It just looks like a rock, right? Okay, you never know till you start breaking them. This one right here, who can guess what that is? Any ideas? That's Obsidian in cobble forms. It's pretty cool. We'll bust into that. And then this is Georgetown shirt, and it doesn't look like anything you could work with right until you bust into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring you guys in close, and we're going to get started on these, and well, shoot, let's just get after it. Alright, so what we are working today is I'm going to show you how to work through this. We're working with copper, and I'm going to tell you why right now. As much as I think if you really follow the channel, you know I like true abo tools, true antler tools, indigenous style knapping, okay? That's where my heart is. But I am doing you a great in-service or injustice by challenging you right off the bat to pick up one of the most difficult ways of knapping and then tackling stuff like cobbles and expecting you to find success. If I challenge you with that, you're not going to be satisfied with the experience. It's not going to work for you, and you're going to get frustrated, and you're not going to continue with it. And that's the last thing that I want to do. So we're going to work with copper because it's easier. Plain and simple, you're going to get better performance out of copper tools at the end of the day. Okay? So I've got lots of other knapping tutorial videos, and you can check down in the description, okay? And pretty much right across the top, I'm going to put a link to the directory of the Hunt Primitive How-To directory on my website. It's free public use. It's an organized section on my website of all my different how-to Hunt Primitive videos. So you can go, like, click on the directory, scroll down to Flint Knapping, and then scroll down to the things that you're looking for. I want people to use this as a free resource. I spent a lot of time putting it together because I want you all to learn how to do it. So that's why I'm doing copper. If you want to see me do antler stuff, I've got lots of videos on that too. But again, I'm working hard to get you to the place that you want to be in your primitive hunting and building adventures. Get the copper stuff down first, then move on to the antler. Don't be a bonehead like I was and focus all on the antler from the word go. Your learning curve is going to be crazy high. I love antler. I want everybody to do it. But if you're pressed for time and you're a slow learner, or you just want to get to where you need to be, start with copper. You learn the mechanics, okay? So that all being said, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to turn all of these into points. I'm going to show you how to start, what to look for, how to thin cobbles down into flakes. I'm going to dig around over here and grab a couple pieces out, right? So every time you see me working on this piece of Georgetown, okay, anytime you see me working an arrowhead, a lot of times I'm starting off with a flake like this, or even something like this. It's fairly abstract, but it's not a round cobble. And so I did a video, or not a video, I did a post on social media which by the way, if you're not following me on Instagram and Facebook, you just find me at HuntPrimitive on Instagram, and also HuntPrimitive / Primitive Archery on Facebook. Definitely worth following along, because I got things on there that you won't see on YouTube. But all that being said, I posted a point that was made out of jasper. And shoot, I had the dang piece of jasper here to show you. And I'm going to run over and grab it because I wanted to show you that too. I laid that sucker down somewhere and lost it. I'll have to find it later. But here's another piece of it, okay? I made a point. I'm going to go ahead and put a picture of that point up on the screen right now so you can see it. And I held up a cobble. I took a picture of it. Then I finished the point. And it's amazing. People were like, I can't believe you got a point out of that. And we're able to preserve so much of its size. Okay, now the more that you knap, the more you will learn to do that. Okay, so I'm going to show you some things here. Some of it I will be using copper. I probably will use a hammerstone for some of the thinning. Now the coral normally is heat treated. This one's not heat treated because it's such a smaller piece and it's very, very glassy. I probably don't have to heat treat it. Okay, so what we're going to be trying to do is expose rock, because the interior rock is going to give us a better platform than the exterior cortex that's soft. So you hit on here, it just crumbles and it's dusty. So once you bust one little piece off, this is now your platform, pretty much no matter what. So what I'm going to be trying to do is line up, and I'm going to hit it high on the platform. I'm not necessarily trying to turn the whole cobble. Sometimes I do turn the whole cobble into an arrowhead. What I'm trying to do is knock off a serviceable flake, and I can just basically wafer cut some of these. You'll see that probably with the Pedernales is really good at that. Coral's kind of funny. Okay, so sometimes I gotta play on the fly. I gotta play it as it comes. So I'm gonna start off with a hammerstone. There we go. That's pretty much exactly what I said I was going to do right there. Boy, you can see how pretty that material is, not even heat treated. So realistically, I don't have to heat treat this, but the coral does work better heat treating. Okay, now if I heat treat this, and if you need to know anything about heat treating, again, go to that directory, that's the first line, and then scroll down to Flint Knap and go down to what is heat treating, and you'll learn everything you need to know about that, okay? I know there's a ton of questions y'all have. In fact, if you have questions, drop them down in the comments and ask your questions, and even if I can't get to them, can't get to every single comment that I get, some of these questions I see, if they're really, really good, I'll make a video about your question, okay? But for the most part, check out the directory. I want you to do a little bit of that research yourself. Go to the directory and look for it, because I've got so many videos that I've already taught people how to do stuff. But you see how I did that is I knocked off a piece to make a flake. Okay, so that's one technique. So let's move on to another one here quick. So here's Obsidian. Okay, we're essentially going to do the same thing. I'm going to look over this whole piece and say, okay, well, where's the best platform? It's jumping right out at me. Immediately, it's right here. So this is the platform I want to hit. And if you need to know anything about the platforms, look up the video, Flint Knapping for Beginners, okay? So I taught everything you need to know about that. So I'm going to do the same thing. I love hammerstones for spalling, even if I'm going to run copper. Well, I'm sure we'll do some copper work here in a little bit. So I'm going to pick my platform, nice pop, and look how I took a cobble, and I'd like to say I split it in half. I didn't really split it in half, but I split that baby right down the center, and I've got a phenomenal flake now to make an arrowhead out of. That's just perfect. It just doesn't get any better. Okay, so I'm going to set this one aside. That's perfect. You've all seen me work points before. This is about how to get cobbles down. I'm probably not going to finish out a point in this. Now, we've got such a thick piece, so say now you're left with this piece. The other one makes more sense. It's thinner, right? So now you've got this big thick piece. How are you going to work that down? Well, instead of continuing trying to work this down into one piece, let's spall it out a little bit more. So I'm going to take another high platform up here. Okay. Whoop! Knock that one right across the room. So this right here is just a little piece of trash. Might be able to get something. But now hold on, I got to lean over here and grab this one. Because here we go. That's another arrowhead piece right there, okay? So out of that, we've got enough for 2 nice arrowheads, or metal points, whatever. And we probably got 1 more in here. You got to be careful with obsidian because not only is it super sharp, but it's a little bit more fragile. And so you don't have to whack it quite as hard. Okay? But you got to get it to drive all the way across. Woo, that was close. Felt it on my finger. Perfect. Okay? So you just saw that, what that whole cobble looked like. And I split it, that cobble, just by using platforms and a hammerstone. This is what you're going to have to practice doing, okay? So I got 1, 2, 3, 4 usable pieces. Okay, that's the end goal with this, okay? So we're going to set those ones aside. Now, I am going to say this too, if I'm always going to encourage you, go look for your own rock. It's a very rewarding experience to go find rock, okay, and then come back and turn it into some stuff. Not everybody's got great rock in their location, nor can they spend the time to it. I do sell rock on my website. There's other places that sell rock too. It doesn't just get rock, but get good rock. So if you go pick up something that's like garbage, like this is my hammerstone. If you pick up a cobble and it looks like this, that's not good to make an arrowhead out of, okay? So it's okay for a hammerstone, but you need the inside of that rock to look like glass, one way or another. Now, you're not going to have obsidian unless you live in the Pacific Northwest or even some of the Southwest. If you live in the East, you're going to be looking at, if you're in Florida, though, you're going to have the coral, but that's kind of tough to find. If you got stuff in the East, you're going to be looking at like Tuscaloosa gravel. Pedernales is going to be in Texas. Georgetown's going to be in Texas. You've got different jaspers up through some places like Virginia and Pennsylvania. It's tough to find, but you're going to find jaspers like this. This one's heat treated. It's more going to be yellow. When you heat treat it, it turns red. Okay. So now here's a piece of Georgetown. All right. So the best place for the platform here is going to be on the sharp peak, not the big rounded side. So it's a little bit chalky on the outside, so you might have to put a good lick on it, but I don't think I have to. And the idea is, again, I'm going to try to drive 1 long flake and split this thing in half. That's the goal every time, right? I know I made it look super easy. So now I've got 2 pieces, okay? That's absolutely the most perfect way. Now, if your cobbles are kind of weird, usually we start off with, like I said, those flakes or even some chunky rock, but I know a lot of people have cobbles. Cobbles kind of have like a cult following. Some people love them, some people hate them. I really like them. And I try to get some cobbles when I can, but I don't specifically target cobbles. I do sell rock on my website, stuff that's already spalled. So like if you want to get rock from me on the website, you're going to get it looking like this already. I do have some full cobbles, and they'll be up on my website. I don't always have them. So check out if there's cobbles there. You can get them. You're more than welcome to them. But I don't specifically look for them. So if I have them, I'll be happy to sell them to you if you want to monkey around with cobbles and you don't have some in your area. I love the cobbles personally. It's a challenge to me. And it's kind of good to learn this stuff too, because not every place, you're not always just going to be out in the woods and have beautiful flakes or chunky rock to choose from. A lot of the rock you find is in cobble. So here's a bigger one. This is a piece of Pedernales, and a lot of these Pedernales cobbles we get are actually really big. And I've shown that in my spalling flint video. But I want to show you a little bit more of turning this one into a bunch of different rock. Okay, see, I took a hit there and I didn't drive through it, but it exposed rock. So now the best thing we can do is, instead of hitting it here again, let's flip it this way and use this as a platform. Ha! Actually, completely split my hammerstone. That's pretty funny, isn't it? That's what happened the first time. So I run through hammerstones pretty quick because this one here is not very good quality, but I can still use it, I think. It might blow. No, I think it feels pretty damaged. Oh no, it's this rock. Okay. Alright, so I see I took a flake off there. And you can use a copper hammer for this as well. So there's another flake that would be an arrowhead. Okay, So that's how, there's a couple different ways if you have a larger cobble. One is you try to split it in half. Now in that spalling flint video that I have, and hopefully you can find that in the directory, I just can't link every single dang video. They're all in the directory, so that's why I put that together. Is I basically take a large cobble and I basically wafered that thing one hit at a time and kept taking off sheets. Okay, now the other way to do it is, instead of having just sheets that you take off, you flip it around and you start basically bifacing a large cobble. So now, we're doing that whole zigzag thing that I talked about in some of the other napping tutorials. So, like, that's not a good flick. Gonna get rid of that. There's a flake we can use, but what we're trying to do is actually preserve the core of this rock. There's another good one here. And you're gonna see what I'm talking about here in a second. See how I zigzag, I flip it over, and I'm gonna take one off this side. Another good arrowhead flake here. Okay, I don't have to zigzag this one. It's probably perfect the way it is. A couple little chip points. We can probably work with those. I'm gonna kind of build that platform, knock that off. It's kind of a weird clunky piece, but I can work with that too. So I'll save that. And now I set up platform 2. I drove that one across. I got one more. I don't want to hit that one yet. I'll hit this side one. I don't need that one. One more right there. Got another piece for an arrowhead. I mean, we got a stack of them going now. Okay. And then alright, now give me a second. We're getting smaller. Let me grab a copper billet and smack it. So there's actually a little point in that one. I saved that one absolutely. Now, let me put the hammerstone down and work through this. If I don't drop my pad too much. Now, we've got a little bit of cortex left on this side, but we've actually worked this side out. Now what we can do is we got most of our bigger chunks off of it. Not saying we won't get any more. Now we're going to focus this into making one. So there's a piece I can use that one. Save that one. It's going to be, well, it was close. And I'm driving these big long flakes, as you can see. Alright, that's what copper really does for you. You can get a heck of a wallop with a piece of copper. These are not meant, so like when you get these like 1-inch boppers, I don't care if you get them from me or somebody else, it doesn't matter. They are not meant for spalling full cobbles. Like, you'll beat the head right off of them. They're not meant for spalling. They're like, what I'm doing right now is like the top job they can do. So if you're having to smash the crap out of it, you're going to destroy the tool, and they're not meant for that. So keep that in mind. That's why I prefer a hammerstone if you're going to do that, or like a large copper hammer. But most people don't have access to those. I would say just shoot for hammerstones in general. They can take a little bit more beating. Okay, so what we've done is now I can set up platforms like I've taught you in the other beginner videos. Might even go ahead and braid a little off on this one and get one more right there and there. See the difference of what happens when you don't abrade. If you're trying to get a good lick with a copper tool, it'll crush if you don't abrade it properly. Okay, so now we're to that point. I don't have to really show you anymore, because now we're down to a serviceable piece of rock, right? And that was out of that cobble. Alright, so I got this piece. That was out of this larger cobble. Some of these are smaller, pieces to use for points. Some I could potentially even get atlatl size points out of. Holy smoke, got so many here I can't even hold them, okay? These are all the ones I saved from that one cobble, okay? Now, don't expect to be able to just jump out and do this your first time doing it. I've been doing this for 15 years as of this year, I think. So don't expect that you're going to perfectly process out one single cobble. You might just get 1 or 2 or 3 pieces out of it if you're getting started in this, okay? So, alright, we worked through all of those. let's revisit this Georgetown here real fast, because I want to show you now. Okay, you got it to this point, but I did a video a while back on napping a half round cobble, and it was a lot more severe than this, because you say, well, this side looks good, but you got all this cortex, so what are you going to do with that? I'm going to walk you through that here real fast as well. And what I'm doing is I'm going to take off this side, but I'm not trying to drive those big flakes. What I'm trying to do is expose the rock on this side. Okay, so I'm going to really try to explain this to you. It's very, very important. If you go right now trying to drive because the center line is all on this side, you'll never drive a flake successfully all the way across by hitting it from this side down. So what we have to do is tilt the piece way up, and I need to expose rock. Okay, get that cortex off. Now, this platform is going to run a flake longer than it would if you just hit right on the cortex. Okay, so now what we're doing is I'm using that as a platform. You say, man, I don't want it to, this side's already great, I want to take it off. You have to build the platform first. Okay, so now once you work that center line, give me a second, I got to set that platform up. Same thing, you always want to get that exposed rock first. Okay, you'll see me flip it over. I don't have it yet, hold on. I'm trying to rush because I don't want to take up all your time, but at the same time I got to do it right. Okay, so there we go. I got some exposed rock. Batter that edge a little bit, get a platform. Now that you move the center line over, now you can run this side. Okay? Way, way easier to do it that way. So set your platform up first. Now you can drive a flake completely over the top. And what I can probably do is come right along here and do the same thing. Nope, hold on. There it is. Boom. So there's another one. And let's do this one here as well. And now we can just walk it all the way around. Just keep. You don't have to necessarily expose that all the way around, except for in a spot like this. You can see it's got a slight cup right here. So now you're in a tough spot. You can't drive it straight off. Now that we have a platform here, that's actually what I'm going to go for first. But this is one of those situations you may want to take some short choppy flakes off here. Not drive them far because they're just going to hinge on you. You'd have to do really small choppies to get on this side. But because we have this nice little platform right here, we're going to work off that one going this way. Okay, so like that. And we got rid of it, but I'm going to braid that and I'm going to hit it again on the same side. Now we've switched the center line over to this side. You can see there's that zigzag. Braid that off, and I don't want to hit necessarily straight down on it and drive a big flake. I'm just trying to create more platform, like right here, so I can flip it off and flip it over and pop another long one this way. And the same thing, little choppy flakes, build the platform, and then drive that big one right across. It does take time, and I know that I make it look easy. You just have to put time and effort into it. That's what napping is, okay? Napping is probably one of the most difficult things you are ever going to do in regards to primitive building. So look, I napped that thing all the way around. So now we're into a really nice little round biface, and we can make a little knife blade or that little point. A little big for an arrow point, realistically. It's a great, great little biface. So I think we covered everything we need to cover. Again, I appreciate you following along, and hopefully I was able to get you a little bit closer to where you want to be in your primitive adventures. Again, if you are looking for stuff, it is available at HuntPrimitive.com. It doesn't matter if you get it from me or get it from somebody else. The important thing is, please put your hands on this stuff. If you're interested in it, don't put it off till tomorrow. Put put your hands on this stuff as soon as possible and start learning. Every day past is a day too late, and you should always live your life to the fullest adventure that you possibly can. So hey, thanks for following along. We're going to catch you on the next adventure.